Companies across all sectors are driving business innovation with a cloud-first model for speed and agility, also even to meet ESG goals, which is becoming an ever more critical expectation and requirement. We are lucky to be joined today by two executives to hear how they are creating modern architectures that encourage innovation without sacrificing security. Please welcome Greg Adgate, Vice President, Global Partnerships and Alliances at Equinix, and John Manaloor, Associate Vice President, Product Engineering at Thryv. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome, thank you. Thank you.
We are joined in this room by executives across many, many industries. So I'd like to begin with a little bit about what each of you do, what your company does, and your role there. So Greg first.
Okay, thank you. Equinix is a Fortune 500 company that runs over 240 ecosystem-dense data centers around the world, 70 different cities, 30 plus countries, delivering value to our clients, over 10,000 customers that include big companies, digital leaders like Amazon and Microsoft and Salesforce, Zoom, and also mid-tier companies and SMBs. And so we have this wide range of experience that puts us at the table of this conversation. What we end up focusing on with them is maintaining and achieving their digital transformation goals.
And although, John, Thryv should explain what your company is trying to do, explain how you help other businesses.
Sure. So Thryv, I like to say Thryv is a 130-year-old startup. Our legacy business is the Yellow Pages. And we made a pivot about 7 years ago we had all these customers and we wanted to help them grow their businesses. And so we've created a SaaS platform for them to help them run their businesses. And it is an all-in-one solution for them to manage their client experience, to help them run their business. And so from everything from their CRM to being able to do email marketing, SMS marketing, managing their payments, their social media presence, their online presence, and everything in between, we've created this platform to allow them to really thrive their business.
Greg, you mentioned some very large clients. It's hard to get larger than Amazon. Tell us about the patterns of digital consumption for these giant organizations and how that differs from what you see with smaller businesses.
Well, Amazon has a whole different scale than most organizations. They actually build and run and operate their own services and data centers and happen to interconnect through us to get to the clients that consume their services. So our relationship with them is as a partner and supplier, and others that are like Amazon as a partner and supplier, to help them bridge from end users and consumers like us who are at home or on-prem to be able to more effectively and securely connect and scale into their platforms. And so this consumption-based model, consumption-based industry that cloud has led brings them through us and actually, in some cases, stage in our facilities, our data centers, and interconnect and scale into the Amazons of the world and Microsofts of the world. So it helps accelerate the transformation by connecting in a way that's secure, reliable, and agile.
And John, speaking of scaling, you have a mission at Thryv, and that is to, in some ways, level the playing field, allowing small businesses to compete with the giant businesses. How do you do that?
Absolutely, because a lot of the larger companies have millions, billions of dollars of available to them to spend. Small to medium-sized businesses don't have that advantage. And so what we've done is we've taken the tools that are available to the bigger companies and have really made it available on an affordable basis to those small businesses.
Mm-hmm. In some ways, is cloud a great equalizer?
Yeah, it can be. I think the small businesses and large businesses have the same goals as they're modernizing. They want the same business outcomes or mission outcomes. They just, like John said, they don't necessarily have the same scale or governance, or in some cases their governance may slow them down if they're large, or small businesses can move more quickly, but may not have access to the talent or the resources to go there as quickly. And so it does equalize and provide opportunities for smaller organizations to look and appear and become large organizations. Mm-hmm. If you look at some of the trajectories of like a Zoom went from a somewhat startup to saving our lives during
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Yeah, and this is also an example that as a company, you never know what forces are going to force your company to grow, and you have to keep up. John, I want to ask the same thing about cloud being an equalizer in this.
It is an equalizer, in my opinion, because for us or for all the smaller companies, it's allowed them to have those tools available to them. Mm-hmm. And so no matter where they are in the world, they can now take advantage of those tools. And the internet's been a great thing because now that information's been passed out. So that playbook, the tools that you can use have been widely disseminated.
Mm-hmm. You both have companies that deal with a range of clients and a large range, many numbers of clients. So I want to ask you both the same question. Greg first. Right now, in this time, what is the biggest concern or the biggest issue that companies present to you, what they need solved?
I was at dinner Tuesday night with a mid-tier insurance company who's starting their journey, and they said, we don't know what we don't know. So I don't know what all the options are. While there are defined playbooks, they wanted us to be honest with them and be a neutral broker of the options. So where do I start? How do I fund it? How do I create the money out of a flat budget and sometimes shrinking budget to do transformation projects? And then how do I find the talent and maintain the talent to do the work that I want to do? So those are the most common things that we hear, whether they're large or small.
John?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that has been a big, giant changer, thing for us is COVID, right? You mentioned that, with Zoom and how it saved kind of everyone's jobs and lives.
Our sanity for sure.
Our sanity for sure. But it's one of those things where COVID was kind of the silver lining in the sense for us. We've been preaching about how you need to be easier to do business with, being able to be scheduled online, how to take payments online, and everything in between, and really kind of managing that client experience. And so the silver lining for us has been that it's kind of forced that change. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of companies who were really managing their business on a more personal, like in-person, have been able to change some of their processes and have incorporated some of the cloud into it.
I think that if you look at actual data, the companies that modernized earlier actually succeeded extremely well through COVID, where those that didn't struggle. They had to re-architect on the fly to be able to stay in business.
And I would imagine there's a correlation, Greg, between the amount of money they had to spend in the end, depending on if they modernized early or if they had to spend a lot of money catching up.
Correct.
So to that goal and to that need, especially related to how can we know what we don't know? We have seen through modern times that technology helps companies, helps individuals, but there's always resistance in the beginning. Not even from the clients, they may not know, but also from the internal workforce. So John, let me ask you, as you help this wide range of companies, what is the point of resistance that you see, and how do you help companies over that hurdle?
I think it's human nature. People hate change, right? Fundamentally, they are used to doing it a certain way, and they will continue to do it that way. Even if there's a better way, more efficient way out there, they're hesitant to change. And so I think that is the biggest inhibitor of kind of this cloud adoption. And for us, it's always been, how do you get them in the door? They buy your solution, but then you've got to coach them. You've got to really get them engaged and having them kind of be a daily, weekly user of your platform to keep them engaged.
Greg, how do you help companies over anxiety into adoption and trust?
First, we do an art of the possible discussion. A lot of people don't, or companies don't know, well, what is Equinix and how does this have to do with my IT architecture? You're a data center operator. Well, the things you can do inside of our sites that's densely connected to clouds and networks and digital destinations open up options that they didn't realize that were there. So first it's laying out what is possible, and then it's going through, there's a complex set of assets and applications that most organizations run, and so not all of them are the same and can be treated the same way. So you do an asset assessment of which ones can be modernized, which ones can move, which ones you want to leave because there's risk associated with it. And it's laying out a plan. And so we work with them and our partner community on laying the plan out, and then go through and sequence the ones that are easier, the ones that are have great financial benefit, and then we figure out what to do with the ones that are the 1984 mainframes that are still in place.
So looking forward away from the 1984 mainframes, can you give us a few examples of some of the possibilities a cloud can present that a lot of companies aren't even aware of?
I'd love to. One of my favorite stories at Equinix is Children's Cancer Institute in Australia. And so their mission is to solve childhood cancer. And so they have massive data sets of information that they study to look for what they call the signal and the noise of data so that they can look for the next cure. And so what they did was take their data sets and place them in one of our data centers in Sydney and interconnect it to a cloud provider and scale out massive amounts of algorithmic computation to look for that thing that can be the next treatment. And so that flexibility of massive data sets in a highly performance, secure way, using a combination of private and public resources, enables them to actually do so. And then they can share that information with other research hospitals around the world through this fabric, our interconnection fabric. So in Australia, they're sharing it with European hospitals that are trying to do the same. So that's an example of what's possible. And that, to me, is what's most exciting. It's not necessarily the technology, it's what you can do with the technology to drive the outcomes that organizations are trying to drive.
Especially if it's an outcome related to saving lives. And also when you realize that it would be impossible for humans to replicate that. There's just too much there, too much data. You need to be able to automate that and analyze it in order to reach that end. So talking about goals, we've touched briefly on something that every company has to talk about. Even 5-6 years ago, it was considered more of something that was maybe cool or on the side, or you should do this if you want to be a good company. But now everyone has to talk about ESG. So let me ask you, John, about how modernizing your company's architecture actually makes you a more responsible and a greener company.
Yeah, because I think for us, being able to go into the cloud for ourselves, that's helped us tremendously. But also our commitment to our customers and our employees, and to be more environmentally friendly and really kind of being able to really drive that process forward. There's many times that we've always had things that were, how should I say this? Having a data center, being a company that has been in business for a really long time, you build up a lot of junk, and for us, it's being able to kind of let someone else manage it for us and move to, when you look at the cloud, it's always someone else's data center. Mm-hmm. And so it's being able to allow that, and it allows us to scale up and down, whereas we don't have to waste on excess capacity and stuff like that. We can just use what we need.
Mm-hmm. Equinix, by the way, Greg, has set a carbon neutral goal by 2030. How will you get there?
We're really far along as it is. Equinix looks at environmental sustainability in two ways, two big categories, being clean and being efficient. And so the clean part, an example is that we source clean energy from suppliers so that when we're providing energy to our data centers around the world, we know that we can guarantee to the end users who consume it that it's clean. And then when we can't, we actually raise money in green bonds to actually put capacity back into the grid. Texas is a good example. There's a lot of wind farms here that we've invested in. Efficiency is about running the data center better and more effectively. So that combination of applying automation and intelligence and making sure you're managing your water properly and you're managing your cooling properly and applying new techniques like inline cooling to cabinets, all of that combined delivers the outcome of a better experience. Then our partners who are tech companies like Dell and HPE and Cisco who have hardware deploy in our sites and they're modernizing. And so they're doing more efficient chipsets and more power efficient technology. That combination of what we do and what they do, when we meet our clients together, we actually can deliver certificates that promise that we've fulfilled on their end user sustainability goals.
We are approaching our final few minutes of this panel, so if you have any questions, please do submit them via the QR code. Very briefly, what is the workforce size of each of your companies, Greg?
A little over 10,000.
And John?
About 2,500.
Okay, let me ask you, John, what are the technological changes you are expecting to see with small businesses over the next 10 years?
Well, I think that we are, a lot of the enterprise customers have already moved to the cloud. But for small to medium-sized businesses, we're kind of in that golden age. We're entering that golden age of moving into the cloud. A lot of them have, some of them, especially before COVID, weren't really, utilizing the cloud, or they were using point solutions. And so right now, I think we're seeing them move into more of these more encompassing, all-inclusive cloud solutions like Thryv.
John, you have $1 billion in revenue. That's a pretty healthy market niche. I want to ask you a little bit, because we asked Greg before about how he talks to clients, the pitch. What is your usual first conversation with clients that come to you?
So, like I said before, we're kind of two companies in one. So we have the marketing services side and we have the SaaS side. The marketing services side is kind of that shrinking iceberg. So how many of you use the Yellow Pages? And so that demographic is kind of, it keeps shrinking, right? And so as that business shrinks, it's still a very profitable business to us, but we're growing that SaaS business. So for us, it's growing that SaaS business that's really important for us.
Yeah. By the way, talking about being ESG, you all remember when they physically came to your door, and we wonder how they magically showed up because they were so heavy. So talking about modernization, looking forward, Greg, I want to ask you if you could give us your thoughts on what you see over the horizon that most excites you for your clients and business in general.
I think I referenced it earlier. I think technology is amazing, but when you assemble technology to deliver the outcomes, excuse me, deliver the outcomes like Children's Cancer Institute, it's very exciting. Another example, we were supported an MSP out of Ukraine who, during the war, was scrambling to try to stay up and running. And so our digital services team met with them and worked with some partners to help them replicate data off of servers where they were supporting government, universities, and businesses to be able to replicate into Germany and do it quickly and not have to lift and fly and shift the servers over. They just connected through networks and used software to replicate. So that what I think is really exciting is the ability to leverage technology at speed, securely, to deliver on outcomes like that. And we kept that organization up and running and kept them in business in the time of war.
I want to do a quick follow-up question with you before I ask John the same question, and that is the big challenge that everyone is facing right now, and that is hiring the right people to architect these things. How do you do that?
We all have a talent battle going on, and it's funny, you'll see people go from this company to that company to this company, and in tech. I think first, as organizations, you have to have a culture that makes people want to work for you. We're really proud of our culture at Equinix. We invest in employee engagement platforms across the board, whether it's Veterans, Pride Connect, Black Connect, Hinta Connect. There's so many ways for people to feel that they can show up as their authentic selves. So you need to create that environment where people want to work for you. But then there's the reality of you've got to go get the talent. And so it's a combination of you hiring your own, but also finding those companies that may have the specialty skills to apply to specific projects where you may not have the talent. And that's where Equinix and our partner community comes in. Between the two of us, we usually can identify the set of skills necessary to help companies meet their goals.
John, same question. How do you find the right people?
I completely agree. It does start with culture. And for us, we've kind of weathered the Great Resignation quite well. And knock on wood, there's no wood here, but for us, that culture, before COVID, we were pretty much a Dallas-centric business. We'd go into the office every day. We'd have lunch with each other. We'd go to together. And so we genuinely liked working with each other. And so that culture, it was a little difficult once we went remote. And we've decided, to go permanently remote. So we are a work from anywhere company now. So which has helped us tremendously, because now instead of just trying to hire folks in the Dallas area that were willing to drive out to Grapevine, we were able to now hire all around the United States. And we've actually expanded that kind of worldwide now. So we've got teams all over. And I think that we've kind of gone with all of the above approach. So we've done direct hire, we've done contract to hire, we've done some nearshore stuff as well. So we've been trying to find people all over the place through all means.
One final question. We just have enough time for both of you to answer this. And if we're having so much of a challenge hiring, how much internal upscaling have you started in your companies to try to get people that are already there into new skills?
Yeah, it's a huge investment. Career pathways is what we call it, where you can look at where you are and look at the options of different roles, positions, skills, and then internal training and enablement of our people and certification of our people in different areas, so that we can use the talent we have, keep them engaged, allow them to grow into areas of interest for them. So it's a big part of it. And I do agree that the hybrid work opens up options, but you have to have recruitment and HR policies and practices that are flexible, that may not be in place. So you've got to evolve that as well to make sure that you're able to recruit and onboard and get people in place quickly enough.
Yeah, we just had an all-employee meeting in early September, and it was kind of cool because we had a large ballroom of the folks that were on the product team, and then we had everyone stand up if they were promoted from different parts of the organization, and that is something that we take great pride in, is being able to promote from within. And then even when they come into the organization, we always try to help them get better skills and stuff. So, there was one story where, some of my developers wanted to get React training. And so we took them to Montreal, Canada for a boot camp. It worked in the schedule. And so we took a flight from DFW to Montreal, and we had this React boot camp. And for us, we've got so many people going for their MBAs or just AWS certifications, and it really kind of helps us with that.